Hey, what's up, everybody? RevSauce9. Make sure to rate, like, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon for the latest and greatest that comes to my channel. Now, we are going to talk about why are we not talking about Windows 10 or 11 Enterprise LTSC IoT. I don't know why we're not talking about this stuff because there is actual CD keys that are out for this stuff. I use IoT every day. I'm good until 2032. I don't have to worry about Microsoft coming down my throat and telling me that I got to pay yearly to keep Windows 10. I don't have to worry about that. I just use IoT and I'm good to go. I've always used embedded versions in comparison to retail copies. For instance, Pro or Home. I don't like Pro or Home. I didn't like it on Windows 10. I didn't like it on 8.1. I didn't like it on 8. I used embedded versions. Pretty much IoT LTSC is embedded version of Windows. So just keep in mind, if you go this direction, you want to get away from retail versions or what the store offers, then you're going to have to stomach the fact that you're only getting security patches. And every 2 years, they do major updates. So it's kind of like Linux. Linux, there's like different versions, and then they upgrade every 2 years or every other year or quarterly. So like that, technically the same premise, right? So there's like LTS versions, and then there's regular versions. So like long-term service, kind of the same principle in a way. So if you're on the Windows 11 side and you go with IoT or Enterprise LTSC, then you're not going to get all the blow like recall, this, that, and a third. Now, there is CD key sites out there that offer codes for Windows 10 and Windows 11 IoT. Just keep that in mind. But I am going to warn you guys, there is some promotion of Musgraves, but that is considered piracy. And I don't promote piracy here on this channel. But Musgraves, they have a GitHub. They give you instructions. You can go through the instructions if you want to go that way. I would suggest keep it legit and buy a retail key because you never know. Microsoft could snoop in, crack down, and shut you down or revoke your Windows. Then I've seen it happen to people that have gone out and used crackers and CD key generators and things like that. Windows, once they find out that you're doing that, they could revoke that key that you've activated with and put a activation or 90 days down at the bottom. Now, if you want to try IoT LTSC, there is an evolution version where you get 90 days to try it out and see what you think. But it is significantly better than stock versions of Windows. So just keep that in mind. Now, there is IoT versions by Ghost Spectre. There is Tiny OS. There's different OSs out there. If you want to go that direction, you still need to buy a retail key. Some of them are cracked and activated. I still don't recommend that kind of stuff because that is considered piracy. And look, what you do with your life is you do with your life. You have one life, live it. If you want to go out there and sell the 7 Cs and say, fuck the man, hey, more power to you. I respect you even more. I feel that way about Netflix, right? But when it comes to Windows, you can get a key for literally $15 nowadays and be fine. I just don't promote retail versions of Windows, especially when you have articles coming out saying that they have AI making code for them now. Small amount of group of people are now working on it. It's not the same as it was years and years and years ago. They're shoving recall down your throat, AI this. So, technically, and I don't think IoT LTSC is going to last much longer. I don't think the next version of Windows is going to have it. But you never know, it may. I will always push embedded versions of Windows just because your hardware runs better, it's more efficient, and it's just way better overall. Keep in mind, some games may not work with IoT. So remember, IoT, certain versions of IoT or certain versions of Windows IoT 11 or 10, it may not work for your hardware either. So just keep in mind, like for instance, newer Ryzen stuff craves Windows 11. So you're going to want to go and get LTSC, IoT, Enterprise, a key and everything. Keep in mind, some games require the latest version of Windows. Remember, IoT, you're far behind. So just remember, every other year they release a new version of, IoT. So just keep in mind. And they tell you how long those versions last. So like each version has an expiration date, and your key between the platforms should work. If you get it from a CD key site, it should move over when you upgrade version. So you should be fine there. You can probably reuse the same key, you'd be fine, or it's a digital license. And when you upgrade every version, you should be fine there. I'm going to talk about Linux real quick. Look, the argument is going to be, well, why don't I just go over to Linux? Mudahar and this person, that person, all saying Linux is superior. Yes and no to that. I don't want the Linux community to come down my throat. And if you're going to come down my throat, fuck you. I'm just going to say that right now, because Linux is not for everyone. Yes, you can promote Linux Mint, Ubuntu, Fedora, and yes, you can modify everything, but the soccer moms, the grannies, the average consumer, they want things to work today, not tomorrow. And they don't want to go do all this tinkering. And they don't have little Timmys and little Joes and little Marias to come and help them and be tech savvy. They don't have like tech savvy people. So you got to understand why people still use Windows to this day. And, look, Linux is superior. I'll give you that. Gaming wise, it runs better. Things just run better on Linux, but there is a lot of takeaways that you just don't get on Linux. For instance, certain drivers just don't work. Certain companies don't work with Linux. You have to wait for re-engineering things. There's a lot of just codecs that don't work. OBS, are you getting the FlatHub version? Are you getting the native version? Some capture cards work with the FlatHub stuff, some don't. It's just a mixed bag of things, and it's just like, I love Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Endeavor OS, Manjaro, Fedora, MX Linux. I can go on and list to Debian. I started with Debian. I still love Debian. I've been using Debian for years. But I'm not going to sit here and go, well, Linux is superior over this one. It depends on if come basis and needs. Like, I used to be a Mac user. Mac is great for video editing, and they're getting more and more better, and they're starting to get their gaming stuff together. And, I like the M chips and stuff like that, but each situation is different. And if you need that compatibility, I'm honestly going to tell you to go either with Mac OS or Windows 11 or 10 LTSC IoT. Get away from the standard versions of Windows. Even if you get a preloaded version of Windows on your PC, go out for $24 more or $15 more and just get yourself an IoT version. If you have newer hardware in your PC, I would honestly tell you, quite literally, just go with Windows 11 Enterprise IoT LTSC. At that point, if you don't give a shit, then go Windows 10. Windows 10, a lot of companies are starting to phase out Windows 10 in general. A lot of companies are now starting to move over to Windows 11. A lot of video editors are and things like that. So be very careful on what you're using. The more and more as the years go by till we get to that 2032 on IoT, more companies are going to bail out of Windows and only support Windows 11. So I would suggest, if you're building a new system today, anything or a mini PC, whatever, and it's got newer specs, honestly, just go Windows 11 Enterprise LTSC IoT. If you got a system that you're buying secondhand, let's say you have a 3rd gen Ryzen or a 1200, I would honestly say just stick with Windows 10. You'll be fine. If you're getting a newer graphics card, you may want to go on the Windows 11 side. But again, the cool part is you don't have to worry about TPM. You don't have to worry about secure boot. You don't have to worry about any of that bullshit. Especially if you're on the Windows 10 side and also on the Windows 11 side on IoT, enterprise, stuff like that. Once again, I want to make this very clear. I am not saying Windows is bad for your health. I don't want to make it out like all these other YouTubers are, or all these other Rumble content creators. You got a lot of people that shit on Windows and say how bad Windows is. And I disagree with that. Every platform has its pros and its cons. It's what you need today, not tomorrow. Again, not everybody is going to be happy with Linux, especially if you're playing games like Fortnite. Fortnite, a lot of gamers play it, and there's an easy anti-cheat that does not work with Linux. Battlefield used to work with Linux. They pulled that off the table. EA, the easy anti-cheat. Again, I got to be very clear about this. And just because you sit around and say, well, you can use GeForce Now. Oh, you can use this. Oh, you can use that. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's great and all. Don't get me wrong. But again, it's until we get more data, more companies jump on Linux. And I'm hoping with the whole Steam OS thing they do. With the Steam OS now being universal, coming soon, with more hardware being available to Linux and Steam pushing the narrative, I'm hoping in the next decade we get more games on Linux. I'm hoping to see Fortnite. Maybe that's a pipe dream in the future of things, but I would like to go full Linux if the companies are willing to support the product. There's too many operating systems, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many file systems, and I get why driver manufacturers aren't doing anything about it on the Linux side. And personally, me, I'm in the fast lane. I don't want to wait. That's why I've always stuck with Windows, because I don't want to wait. And some of you still think Bill Gates works for Windows. No. Or Microsoft in general. No. He's a shareholder. He's not he doesn't work anything with Microsoft. So keep that in mind. I hear some of you say Billy the Kid all the time. It's like, no, Bill Gates left a long time ago. Steve Ballmer left a long time ago. He's the owner of the Clippers now. So, and he's the biggest owner of the league. So $10 billion, I think it is with him. So at the end of the day, I'm just saying whatever works for your situation, go with it, but don't sit and try to patronize people and say, oh, you need to go to Linux because of this, or you need to debloat because of this. Give everybody the third or fourth option. I'm sick of these Linux channels saying they're pro Linux, but they don't talk about the Windows side. They just say how bad retail versions of Windows are, pro and home. They don't talk about enterprise. And they don't talk about the bullshit. And then they talk about Windows is dying. Windows ain't dying because, listen. Windows ain't dying. It's in like pretty much most, I think it's like one in every other home. There's Windows, I think, or something like that. Some crazy stat number, and enterprise companies are still using it and stuff like that, and schools and whatnot. Until I see schools adopting different things, the day I will go, okay, Linux is where it's at. You know what I mean? Or Mac. Till those days, Windows is still superior. Microsoft's still got a foothold in the world. Until driver manufacturers go, hey, we're going to go over here. Until I see that, until they adopt it's just going to be a Windows world. And like I said, once again, my narrative is everybody's in a today world, not a tomorrow world. Everybody's impatient and in the fast lane. And Linux people don't want to hear that. Linux people say, oh, well, you could stomach re-engineering stuff. You could just code. Not everybody has the time for that. And you're asking the grannies and the soccer moms and the average Joes and the average Janes to do that they just want to plug in, play, and go. Come on now. You know, again, it's just, look, this video was sparked because of my annoyance, within the YouTube space, where you have so many channels talking about how great Linux is, or how great this is, or how great that is. But they don't talk about LTSC. They don't talk about the positives. They don't talk about the downsides. They kind of sweep that shit under a rug. Same with Apple users. They sweep things under the rug. And the same with Windows users. They sweep shit under the rug all the time. But me, I use embedded versions of Windows. I use custom versions of Windows. I will never go back to using Pro or Home. I don't think, unless I have to. Unless there's a game or there's something that I really want to play that does. But I do have a console. So, you know what I mean? So I could find a bunch of stuff that's compatible with Linux. And I could run Linux full time. And play off my console the games I want to play. Yeah, I could. But I want to enjoy my graphics card and things like that I purchased coming soon. So Linux is probably not going to be it. But who knows with me. Anyway, this is just a random video I just wanted to do for the hell of it and talk about it. Linux community, please don't crucify me. I love Linux. I use it on my laptop. I'm a Linux Mint user. I'm a dirty Linux Mint user, and I think on my side boot drive I have Endeavor OS Arch. So there you go. And then I think I have Manjaro on something else, so on my Nook or something like that. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later on the next one. Peace, and I'll see you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.